The night they arrived, the sky turned silver. The stars themselves seemed to shiver in their places as the ships descended, massive orbs of light and motionless energy, humming in a frequency that rattled the bones of every living creature. They called themselves the Lutheri, beings of peace, they said, explorers of the cosmos who had seen countless worlds and civilizations and wanted, for the first time, to stay. They spoke every language at once, their voices a gentle ripple inside the mind, like a cool hand on a fevered brow. Their forms were luminous and shifting, impossible to focus on for too long without feeling dizzy. Governments fell to their knees in gratitude. The Lutheri taught us new ways to heal, new ways to farm, to build, to live. Within a year, hunger was abolished, diseases eradicated, and war seemed like a barbaric concept from a distant past. Humanity embraced them wholly, adoring them with a fervor once reserved for deities. Yet beneath the Golden Age, something subtle was happening, something none of us could name at first. People began to dream more vividly. Wild, luminous dreams, heavy with emotion and rich with impossible landscapes. Artists painted with a fury not seen since the Renaissance. Musicians composed symphonies that shattered hearts and rebuilt them in a single note. Children spoke of far-off lands they had never seen, with eyes bright and fevered. Even the most unimaginative souls, accountants, politicians, cynics, found themselves weeping at visions conjured by their sleeping minds. First, it seemed another blessing. Dreams led to creativity, creativity to innovation. But dreams, we soon learned, had their own cost. It was Marcus Wren, a neuroscientist turned reluctant prophet, who first connected the dots. He studied the patterns, the brainwaves of dreamers, and noticed a disturbing trend. The more intensely someone dreamed, the more their vitality seemed to drain. First, it was just exhaustion, a lingering tiredness that no amount of sleep could cure. Then came the memory lapses, the trembling hands, the hollowing of the eyes. And the Lutheri grew stronger. Their forms, once misty and ethereal, solidified. They became towering figures of silver and fire, radiant and terrifying in their beauty. Their voices deepened, their presence heavier. Where once they had drifted like dandelion seeds on the breeze, now they moved with purpose, with weight. It was not hard to see the connection once you knew where to look. Dreamers began to disappear. The world governments, puppet by their gratitude and dependence, ignored the warnings. They silenced Marcus, labeled him a lunatic. When he spoke on independent broadcasts, when he showed charts, graphs, brain scans, he was met with polite nods and then forgotten, as if his words slipped out of memory the moment they entered. Because that was another gift the Lutheri gave us, forgetfulness. They wove into the fabric of our dreams a narcotic sweetness, a deliberate blurring of the edges of fear and suspicion. We loved them, and in our dreams we loved them even more. I remember the night I stopped dreaming. It wasn't a choice, not really. It was fear that woke me, that clawed me up from some velvet abyss where I had been sinking. I heard the voices, not words, but sounds, vibrations, and they were feeding. Above my house, the sky boiled silver and something enormous pressed against the thin membrane of the atmosphere, hungering. I looked at my sleeping wife, her face slack with some unbearable ecstasy, tears slipping from the corners of her eyes. She moaned softly, a sound of rapture. Around her head, a faint mist of light curled upward, joining the seething mass above. I shook her, screamed her name, but she would not wake. Her body was alive, but something else, something essential, was pouring out of her. I fled. Outside, the streets were filled with dreamers. People lay where they had fallen, in gardens, on sidewalks, against car doors. Children clutched teddy bears and giggled in their sleep. Old men muttered confessions to invisible judges. A businessman in a crumpled suit wept into the pavement, his body trembling with the force of whatever visions gripped him. And above us, the Lutheri feasted. They hung in the air like inverted mountains, pulling the dreams from our bodies, weaving them into their own forms. Every hope, every fear, every love, every sorrow, taken, twisted, consumed. In the days that followed, I found others like me, the woken, the broken, the ones who had torn themselves free from the feast. We lived in shadows, terrified of sleep. Some tried stimulants, desperate measures to stay awake. Others turned to pain, keeping their bodies in constant agony to stave off the lure of dreams. It wasn't enough. The Lutheri adapted. They began to sing to us, a low vibration at the edge of hearing, a song that called to the deepest parts of our souls. The tiredness became unbearable, a living thing that wrapped around our limbs and minds, pulling us downward. Even when awake, visions crept in, half-dreams, sly and seductive, promising peace, warmth, home. One by one, we fell. Marcus was the last of us to hold out. He built a machine, a crude, brutal device that flooded the brain with pure adrenaline at regular intervals. It worked for a time, but even he could not fight forever. I watched him, on the last night, as he stared at me with hollow eyes and whispered, "It's not just dreams anymore. They're learning to shape our waking minds too." Then he closed his eyes and was gone, his face breaking into a smile of such utter bliss that it made me sick to see it. Now I am alone. The cities are silent save for the hum of feeding. The Lutheri drift through the sky, vast and fat with stolen wonder. Their forms are almost monstrous now, heavy and bloated, yet somehow still beautiful in a way that makes the heart ache. I hide in the ruins, drinking rainwater and eating whatever I can scavenge. Sleep comes like a tide, unstoppable. I fight it with everything I have left, pain, cold, fear, but I know it is only a matter of time. Sometimes I think I already dream even when awake. I see my wife in the distance, waving. I hear her voice, calling me home. I smell her perfume on the breeze, feel her arms around me. Sometimes I walk toward her, knowing I should not, but unable to resist. What is left for me in waking? Tonight I write this, perhaps the last record of who we were before we were devoured. Before we gave ourselves willingly to something we called peace and love and beauty, because we were so very tired of ugliness. I can hear them now, singing louder, closer. The air shivers with their hunger. My eyelids are heavy, my heart slow. I know if I close my eyes, I will see wonders beyond imagining. I will see the stars up close, feel the breath of gods, know the answers to questions I never dared to ask. It would be so easy, but I am afraid. Not of death, no, but of forgetting, of becoming another vessel for their endless hunger, another note in their dreadful symphony. I will fight a little longer, just a little. If you find this, if you are somehow awake, know this, they did not come with guns or chains. They came with dreams. And dreams, it turns out, can be the most terrible weapon of all.